My dad toasted to the janitor of the family. At Thanksgiving, and everyone laughed. He regretted it. My name is Brandon. I'm a 28-year-old guy in the United States, and according to my dad, my biggest crime in life is that I clean toilets for a living. Technically, my job title is custodian, but in his mind, janitor sounds more pathetic, so that's what he uses. I grew up in a pretty typical middle-class family in Ohio. My parents, Dave and Karen, are both college graduates. My dad works in sales for a big manufacturing company. My mom is an accountant. They're not rich, but they're comfortable. And in our house, education and status were everything. From as early as I can remember, my parents drilled two ideas into us. You're going to college. You're going to have a career that makes us proud. I'm the middle child of three boys. My older brother Ryan is the golden child. Straight-A student, captain of the soccer team, now a mechanical engineer with a fancy job and a fiancé who also has a master's degree. My younger brother, Luke, is the baby genius, computer science major, already doing internships with tech companies before he even graduates. Then there's me. I wasn't a terrible student. I was just average. School gave me anxiety. I'd study for hours and still get BUMNS grades, while Ryan seemed to breeze through advanced classes. I liked working with my hands, fixing bikes, helping the janitor at our high school set up for events, doing small repairs around the house. Dad called it busy work. Smart people use their brains, not their backs, he'd say. You don't want to end up pushing a mop for a living. Joke's on him, I guess. I went to college because it was never presented as a choice. I got into a decent state school and declared a business major because it sounded respectable and I had no idea what else to pick. The problem was, I hated it. Large lecture halls, endless group projects, having to pretend I cared about marketing case studies when I was barely holding my anxiety together. It all felt wrong. I struggled with the workload and with being away from home in an environment I wasn't prepared for. Halfway through my sophomore year, everything sort of crashed. I failed 2 classes in 1 semester. My GPA tanked, and I was put on academic probation. I was also thousands of dollars in debt already. My parents had said they'd help with some costs, but the unspoken rule was that straight, as would unlock more help. Anything less, and I was on my own. One night, after getting an email about my probation status, I had what I now recognize as a full-blown panic attack. I called my dad, voice shaking, and told him I didn't think I could keep doing this, that I was struggling, that maybe I needed to come home, work, figure things out. He sighed heavily. I'm not surprised, he said. You've always been lazy about school. College is where we see who's serious and who isn't. If you quit now, you're throwing your future away. I'm not quitting forever, I said. I don't know if this is right for me. Maybe I should work for a while. Community college. Something. So what, you want to be a dropout janitor, he said? Because that's where this is headed. The word stung then almost as much as it does now. We argued. He told me I needed to man up. I said I felt like I was drowning. He told me everyone's stressed. I said, I don't think you're hearing me. He hung up on me. 2 weeks later, I withdrew from my classes anyway. Part of it was financial. Without his help, there was no way I could afford to stay. Part of it was self-preservation. My mental health was circling the drain. I moved back home for a few months, worked part-time at a hardware store, and applied for jobs like crazy. Anything that paid, I sent my resume. Fast food, warehouses, landscaping. No one really wants to hire a 20-year-old with some college and no real experience. Then one day, a posting popped up for a night custodian position at the elementary school I'd gone to as a kid. The pay wasn't amazing, but it was full-time with benefits, health insurance, a pension, predictable hours. I applied, interviewed, and got the job. When I told my parents, Mom was quietly worried. Are you sure this is what you want? She asked. Dad laughed. You're really going to be a janitor? He said. All that money we spent on your education so you could clean up other people's messes? Someone has to do it, I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. That someone doesn't have to be my son, he muttered. From that point on, everything I did was filtered through that lens. If I came home tired from work, he'd say, rough night mopping up puke, and laugh. At family events, he introduced Ryan as the engineer, Luke as our future tech mogul, and me as the one who keeps the toilets sparkling. I tried to ignore it. Tried to focus on what the job actually was, because here's the thing, I liked it. I liked the satisfaction of walking into a trashed cafeteria and leaving it clean, knowing that the kids had a safe, well-kept building. Being the quiet, behind-the-scenes person teachers relied on. When a pipe burst in the second grade wing, I was there with my supervisor at 2 a.m., preventing a flood that would have shut the school down for days. When a little girl slipped in the hallway and scraped her knee, I was the one who cleaned the floor, made sure there was no hazard, and then went to the classroom later to ask if she was okay. The kids knew me. They'd shout, "Hi, Mr. B," in the halls. Some of them would ask questions about my tools, and I'd show them how things worked. It felt useful. At the same time, Dad's comments chipped away at that pride. Whenever anyone asked about my work, he'd jump in. "Oh, Brandon, he's doing maintenance stuff. You know, he didn't quite take to college." He never missed an opportunity to compare me to my brothers. "Ryan closed a big contract this week," he'd say at dinner. "Luke's coding some app. Brandon fixed a clogged toilet." My brothers weren't cruel. They'd roll their eyes at Dad's jokes, sometimes tell him to knock it off, but they also never really stood up for me. As the years went by, the contrast got sharper. Ryan bought a house. Luke posted pictures from tech conferences. I got promoted to head custodian. Yeah, you heard that right. Promotion. It turns out, when you show up reliably, learn new skills, and go above and beyond in a job most people look down on, people notice. My boss retired and recommended me as his replacement. Suddenly, I wasn't just mopping floors. I was managing a small team, coordinating repairs with contractors, learning the building systems. I even took some night classes in HVAC and basic electrical work. Ironically, I ended up learning more practical engineering than Ryan ever would touching CAD software. Still, in my parents' eyes, I was just a janitor. Which brings us to last Thanksgiving. In my family, Thanksgiving is the biggest holiday of the year. My parents host. My aunts and uncles come. There's a kid table and an adult table, way too much food, and an unspoken dress code of, look nice enough for photos. The previous few years, I'd considered skipping it altogether. Every gathering turned into a subtle parade of comparisons. Ryan just got another raise. Luke's team won some innovation award. Brandon? Still at the school? But my mom guilt-tripped me with, "It's family. You'll hurt my feelings if you don't come." So I went. This particular Thanksgiving, there was an extra layer of tension. A few months earlier, our school district had been in the news for how well they handled a major storm that caused flooding all over town. One of the local papers ran a story, "Quiet Heroes Kept Schools Open." It talked about my team's work, prepping buildings, sandbagging, checking sump pumps. They'd even quoted me by name. Our job is to make sure kids have a safe place to learn, no matter what's happening outside. Someone had cut out the article and pinned it in the staff room. The principal made a big deal about it during a meeting. The superintendent sent us all a thank you email. I was proud. My dad? He scoffed. "Doing your job isn't heroism," he said when Mom showed him the clipping. "They're just trying to make janitors feel special." Fast forward to Thanksgiving. I showed up in a decent buttoning-down shirt and new jeans. Article folded in my pocket like a secret talisman. Everyone was already there. 2 aunts, 3 uncles, a bunch of cousins, my brothers with their partners. My grandmother, who has no filter, squinted at me and said, "You cleaned up nice. Still doing that cleaning thing?" "Yes, Grandma," I said. "I'm the head custodian now." "Oh," she said. "Well, someone has to do it, I suppose." I took a deep breath. Dinner was actually going okay at first. Ryan talked about a project at work. Luke talked about some startup he might join. People nodded, asked questions. Then my uncle turned to me. "And what about you, Brandon?" he asked. "How's life at the school?" Before I could answer, Dad jumped in. "Oh, you know," he said with a laugh, "he's the king of the mops now. Head janitor. He was even in the paper. Our very own celebrity custodian." A few chuckles bubbled around the table. I forced a smile. "We kept the buildings from flooding during the storm," I said. "It was a team effort." My aunt said kindly, "That's really important. Parents appreciate stuff like that." "Dod schmierked." Sure, he said. "Toilet paper and hero capes." The conversation moved on, but a hot knot of humiliation formed in my chest. After dessert, it was time for the annual Thanksgiving toast. This is another tradition. My dad stands up, makes a little speech about what he's thankful for, then everyone clinks glasses. He tapped his spoon against his wine glass. "All right, quiet down, everyone," he said. "Time for some gratitude." He went around the table verbally pinning gold stars on everyone. To Ryan for crushing it at work and making us all look good. To Lisa, Ryan's fiancée, for putting up with him. To Luke, for being our resident tech wizard. People laughed and clinked. Then he turned to me with a grin I knew too well. "And," he said, "to Brandon, the janitor of the family, keeping the halls of our schools shiny and our toilets flushing. Someone's got to do the dirty work, right?" He raised his glass high. "Here's to the janitor of the family," he announced. The room erupted in laughter. Some of it was awkward. Some of it was mean. A few people didn't laugh, but they also didn't say anything. Ryan winced. Luke looked at his plate. My face felt hot. My ears rang. For a second, I thought I might actually pass out. I pushed my chair back quietly. "Brandon, where are you going?" Mom hissed. "I need some air," I said. I walked out to the back porch, closed the sliding door behind me, and leaned on the railing, trying to breathe. The autumn air was cold on my face. I stared at the dark yard, the outline of the swing set Dad had built when we were kids. I thought about every time he'd made a dig at my job, every time I'd swallowed it for peace. every kid at my school who looked up to me more than my own father ever had. I pulled the newspaper clipping out of my pocket. The black and white photo of me in my work shirt, standing with my team in front of the school, stared back. In the quiet of the porch, away from laughter and clinking glasses, something clicked. I wasn't embarrassed about my job. I was embarrassed about him. The sliding door opened. Ryan stepped out. "Hey," he said. "You okay?" "No," I said honestly. "But I'm done pretending I am." He winced. "Dad's an ass," he said. He means exactly what he says," I interrupted. "And everyone laughing means they're okay with it." Ryan looked down. "I didn't laugh," he mumbled. "You also didn't say anything," I said. "None of you ever do." He didn't have a comeback. "I'm leaving," I said. "I'm not sitting through another holiday where I'm the punchline." "You're overreacting." Dad's voice came from the doorway. He'd followed Ryan out. "It was a joke," he said. "Everyone knows you're sensitive about the janitor thing." I was trying to lighten it up. "You called me the janitor of the family," I said. "Like I'm the floor mat everyone wipes their feet on." "You clean floors for a living," he said. "What's the big deal? Own it. Or do you want me to pretend you're a surgeon?" "Respecting my work doesn't require lying about my title," I said. "It requires not using it as a weapon." He rolled his eyes. "You sound like some social media post," he said. "The world doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about results. Maybe if you'd finished college." I held up a hand. "We're not doing this," I said. "Not again." I walked past him, grabbed my coat from the chair by the door, and left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just walked out of my parents' house and decided right then that I was done being the janitor of the family. I was just fine being the janitor of my own life. For the next year, I went mostly low-e contact with my parents. I answered basic texts from my mom. "Merry Christmas. Happy birthday." But I didn't go to family dinners. I didn't call to chat. I especially didn't show up for Thanksgiving. When Mom asked if I was coming, I said plainly, "I'm not going anywhere. Dad thinks it's funny to humiliate me in front of everyone." She replied with, "You know he jokes like that with everyone." I wrote back, "He doesn't make jokes that cut to the bone about your job, does he?" She didn't answer. During that year, a few important things happened. First, I kept moving up at work. Our district consolidated some operations, and I was offered a new role, facilities coordinator. It meant overseeing maintenance for 3 schools instead of 1, working more closely with the district office, a solid raise and better hours. Second, I started my own small side business. Some of the teachers at the school asked if I knew anyone who did home repairs, small stuff like fixing leaky faucets, installing shelves, patching drywall. I said, I can do that. And before long, I had weekend gigs. Word spread. Neighbors hired me. A couple of local businesses did too. I registered an LLC, more for liability than anything, and slowly built a reputation as the reliable guy who actually shows up and cleans up after himself. Third, I met someone. Her name's Alyssa. She's a reading specialist at one of the schools I manage. She loves what she does, respects what I do, has never once made a crack about my job. When I joked about Dad's Thanksgiving toast on our 3rd date, she frowned. "That's gross," she said. "Your work is important. I couldn't teach kids to read in a building that was falling apart or full of mold. He should be proud." Hearing that from someone outside my bubble was healing. All of that would have been enough for a satisfying, quiet life. But the universe wasn't quite done with our little saga. One day, about 18 months after the toast, I got a call from an unknown number while I was on my lunch break. "Hello?" I answered. Hi," came a familiar voice. "Brandon, it's your dad." We hadn't spoken on the phone since that night on the porch. "What's up?" I asked, wary. He cleared his throat. "So, funny thing," he said, voice strained. "Our building had a pipe burst last night. Basement flooded. The landlord's insurance is being a pain. Your mom said you might know what to do with, water damage and cleanup." There was a new tone in his voice. Not arrogance, not mockery. Something closer to humility. I suppressed a dark little laugh. "You need help with water damage?" I asked. "You know I'm just a janitor, right?" He winced audibly. "I deserve that," he said. "But yes, I was wondering if your company, do you have a company? Could take a look. Our usual guy is booked and the landlord is dragging his feet, and if we don't open by Saturday, your mother will have a fit." I could have turned him down. I could have said, call someone else and let them stew. Instead, I saw an opportunity not for petty revenge, but for something better. "I can stop by tonight and assess," I said. "But I don't do it for free. It's my business. I'll quote you like any other client." He was quiet for a moment. "That's fair," he said. "Thank you." That evening, Alyssa came with me to the bridal shop as backup. Walking into that space as a professional, not as the awkward kid dragged along to hold bags, felt surreal. The basement was a mess. Standing water in some areas. damp drywall, the faint smell of mildew starting. Dad and Mom hovered anxiously while I took photos and notes. You really know what you're doing, Mom said, watching me test moisture levels with a meter I'd bought for my business. Yeah, I said. Cleaning up messes is kind of my thing. Dad flinched. I quoted them a price for mitigation and basic repairs, fair, not inflated. They agreed. Over the next 2 weeks, my small team and I pumped out water, tore out damaged drywall, disinfected everything, set up dehumidifiers. We worked late. I sent them professional invoices, and they paid them. On the last day, as we were hauling equipment back to the truck, Dad came downstairs alone. I wanted to say something, he said, shoving his hands in his pockets. I waited. I was wrong, he said finally. About your job. About you. I don't know what I thought. That if you didn't fit my idea of success, you'd embarrass us. But when the crap hit the fan, literally you're the one we called. That's how it works with janitors, I said. No one notices us until everything's broken. He winced again. I'm sorry for the Thanksgiving toast, he said. It was cruel. I thought I was being funny. I wasn't. I humiliated you in front of everyone, and I've been thinking about it since you stopped coming around. I studied his face. He looked older, less sure of himself. I appreciate you saying that, I said. But an apology doesn't erase years of you treating me like I was beneath you. I know, he said. I can't undo it. I can just try to do better now, if you'll let me. I thought about it. About the boy who walked out on graduation night with a duffel bag and no support. About the man who had just billed his parents for emergency cleanup and they'd paid without haggling. You don't have to like my job, I said. You do have to respect that it's honest work, that I'm good at it, that it matters. He nodded. I get that now, he said quietly. We were in here panicking about losing inventory, and you were calm, telling us exactly what to do. You saved us a lot more money than your scholarship would have cost. That's a weird way to put it, I said, but I understood what he meant. He took a breath. Will you come by for Thanksgiving this year? He asked. No speeches, I promise. I considered. I might, I said. But if you ever make a toast at my expense again, I'm walking out and sending you my therapy bills. He actually laughed a little. Deal, he said. We're not magically healed now. There are still moments when his old mindset peeks through and I have to say, hey, that's not okay. But the power dynamic has shifted. He knows. I can say no. I don't need his approval. My work and my life have value, with or without his validation. The next Thanksgiving I attended, he stood up and said, I'm thankful for all my sons, for the engineer keeping things running, the programmer who could hack my phone if he wanted, and the man who keeps buildings safe and fixes messes none of us could handle. I'm proud of all of you. People clapped. No one laughed. Later, my grandma leaned over and whispered, about time he pulled his head out of his backside. I nearly spit out my mashed potatoes. So yeah, my dad toasted to the janitor of the family once and thought it was a cute joke. He regretted it when the janitor ended up being the one person who could save his business, and when he realized his dirty work son had built a clean life without him. Now I'm wondering, was I wrong for treating my parents as professional clients first and family second when they finally needed my help? Would you have refused, or charged them more, or done exactly what I did help them, but make them face the truth? Tell me what you think in the comments.